Yesterday at about 5:10 p.m., Reno police officers responded to a reported motor vehicle accident at the intersection of McCarran and Smith Ridge. While multiple officers were en route to that location, information was received that it was a injury accident and that potentially one of the vehicles had actually caught fire. So Reno Fire and REMSA paramedics were also dispatched to the location as well. As officers were responding to that location, officers received information that witnesses on scene were reporting that a person had armed themselves with a knife at the location. So officers continue responding with this information in mind. The information from witnesses at scene also indicated that this person who had armed themselves with a knife also placed the knife against their own throat. Officers were responding and arrived on scene, and when they did, they reported male was attempting to injure himself, and then another person was attempting to stop him. So the officers, two officers arrived on scene and attempted to contact this individual armed with a knife. The two officers approached this individual, gave verbal commands, and at one point attempted to tase the individual who was armed with the knife. The taser had little to no effect on that individual. That individual armed with a knife then turned on both the officers and advanced towards them in close proximity. Officers on scene fired on the suspect and stopped the activity with this individual. REMSA medics were on scene almost immediately along with Reno Fire personnel and provided aid to this individual from the scene. Additional Reno police officers arrived on scene and assisted with taking this individual into custody. REMSA medics transported this individual to local hospital where this individual was pronounced deceased. The Nevada Highway Patrol was called to assist with the investigation. The Nevada Highway Patrol is actually handling the accident portion of this investigation. And based on the fact that officers from the Reno Police Department were involved in this shooting, the Washington County officer involved shooting protocol was enacted. The Sparks Police Department has the case lead. The Sparks Police Department case number in this case is 16-756. The deceased individual has been identified as Sergio Alvarado. It's ALVARADO - Morales. MORALES. At autopsy today, medical examiner's office determined and medical examiner's office found evidence of self-inflicted injury to Mr. Alvarado Morales. The self-inflicted injury was with a sharp object or sharp instrument. Upon the conclusion of this investigation, which is being conducted by Sparks PD in conjunction with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. At the conclusion of the investigation, it will be turned over to the District Attorney's Office for review in this case. And it is likely, as I talked about a little bit ago, it's likely that there are other witnesses that may have witnessed the crash or the incident that led up to the shooting and possibly witnessed what occurred during the shooting or after the shooting. We ask that those people come forward. They can contact a secret witness or contact the Sparks Police Department. The contact information is on the screen. We're also asking that anyone who had any contact with Mr. Alvarado Morales, if anyone had any contact with him yesterday afternoon, specifically anytime just before the crash, we urge them to come forward, contact Sparks Police detectives or secret witness, get that information to us. That's all I have at this time. So,
what's his age?
Date of birth on him is 9/10/77.
Was he involved in the car accident?
Yes, he was involved in a car crash.
Do you know how many cars were involved?
It looks like 4 cars for sure, and potentially a 5th vehicle was involved in the crash. However, that vehicle was not located. So we believe that there may be a 5th vehicle out there that may have been involved in the crash, and we're hoping that person contacts either us, Sparks Police Department, or secret witness.
Are there any indications this was a road rage? The whole thing started as a road rage incident?
You know, it's still under investigation at this time. We're certainly looking into that. Our detectives have not found any, our detectives are looking into what took place before this crash, and was there road rage, was involved or not, and so we're looking into that. I don't
What
have
does
any
it, what does it
specifics on
indicate when you tase somebody and it seems to have no effect?
It indicates that possibly the taser probes, didn't make contact.
It could be mechanical. Or
Could be a mechanical failure with the device, or the person involved could be under the influence of narcotics or mental health issues. There's just many varieties of reasons why a taser may or may not have an effect on a person.
Was there any indication that he was threatening other people that were involved in the accident?
Other people at the scene, according to witnesses in the investigation, felt threatened by this individual, yes.
But he was holding the knife on himself.
Well,
But
that's
they
one
felt-
aspect of it. There were other
Okay.
things occurring there. And again, it's still under investigation, and anyone who witnessed that, well, we want them to have their independent recollection of what occurred, what they saw, what they may have heard, and so we don't want to release any specific details as to play-by-play as to what happened.
Was he threatening the officers before, well, he wasn't threatening the officers before they tased him. That's when he started moving toward them with the knife.
The officers, this individual turned towards the officers after he was tased.
When it comes to training for police officers, how do they know when it's appropriate to engage on a suspect?
Engage, what do you mean?
The firearm.
When they're protecting their lives, protecting themselves from serious bodily injury or death, or they're protecting another person from serious bodily injury or death. That's when an officer may choose to employ deadly force.
Do you train your officers to empty their gun once they start using it?
We train our officers to use their firearm until the threat has ceased. So we don't train them to fire a certain amount or to empty a gun or anything like that. Our officers are trained to stop a threat. So if an officer feels threatened, again, if they're feeling threatened against serious bodily injury or death, or serious bodily injury or death to another person, then the officer may fire until that threat is no longer there.
Upon initial contact, it's correct in my understanding, this individual is trying to harm himself. What's the protocol on that? And would there be any harm just to allow him to just do his thing if he was, why would the officers go and even approach him, I guess is what I'm going with this.
I don't know what you mean by do your own thing, but I will tell you this, that when the officers arrived on scene, they were met with several witnesses who were directly and or indirectly involved in the crash, and those people were very concerned for their safety and directed officers to this individual.
I guess where I'm going with this, let me ask this in a different way, probably more comprehensive and comprehensible way. For an individual who appears to be harming himself, commands to tell him to stop and so on and so forth, what was it that prompted the officers to actually go up to him at all? The taser didn't work, or did it not engage fully?
Well, I wasn't out on the scene, but I will tell you this, that based on my experience, when you're involved in a situation where you're out on a location that is not contained, in other words, you're out in an open roadway with 5 o'clock traffic, rush hour traffic, you have a multiple car accident with multiple people on the side of the road, letting somebody run around with a knife, whether they're threatening to injure themselves or threatening to injure somebody else, we've got to get that contained. We've got to protect not only the people who are directly involved in the crash, but we've got to protect people that are in this area. We've got to protect passing motorists, and when the officers are on scene, we need to have them protected as well. So we need to be able to contain these types of situations, and 2 officers attempted to do that.
Some folks on our Facebook are asking if this individual has history of mental illness, and what's the protocol on that?
I don't have any specific information with regards to whether or not this person did or did not have any mental illness, and if I had the information, I wouldn't be able to provide that. But as far as protocol, we don't know what we don't know. In other words, we don't know what an individual may or may not be going through. And in a case like this, where you have an individual who is presenting a threat, whether it's to themselves or other people, our officer's main concern is to secure that location and prevent this person from harming people.
Ken, can you describe the knife?
I can't. Again, the reason for not providing those specific finite details is because we believe that we have other witnesses out in the community who were either there just prior to the crash, there during the crash, who may have been there just before, during, or after the shooting as well. And we urge them to come forward and provide us the information that they saw or they heard.
But you have the knife, don't you? Or do you not have the knife?
We do.
Okay.
You mentioned that there was another person on scene before the cops got there that was trying to calm him down. Did that person know him, or was it somebody that involved in the accident?
I don't have that specific information.
I was just gonna ask that, was this person alone, this individual who was killed, was he alone? Was he with someone else? Do you know that?
Yeah, I don't have that specific information, but at least 4 vehicles were involved.
How many shots were fired?
I'm not going to provide that specific information at this time. We do have that. However, I'm not going to provide it at this time just because we believe we have other witnesses out there, again, who saw or heard what was occurring before, during, and after this incident. And we want to be able to get that information from them as independently as possible. Okay.
Can you tell us how many officers opened fire? Was it just one?
I can tell you that there are several officers on paid administrative leave per the OAS Officer Involved Shooting Protocol. As far as the number of officers, again, I want to refrain from providing that specific detail just at this time until we can ensure that we have exhausted all attempts to try to locate any additional witnesses who may have been at the scene before, during, or after the shooting.
Was it one just one taser that was used?
Yes.
The car that was mostly destroyed in the front, I believe there was a fire, was that his car?
I wasn't out on the scene,
Okay.
and I don't have the information as to which vehicles were damaged or what type of vehicle damage had occurred with all of them.
How unusual is this kind of situation where a car accident escalates into an officer-involved shooting?
I don't sit here with any statistics on that. However, just immediately off the top of my head, I'm aware of that even occurring here in Sparks on occasion, and I just don't have those numbers with regards to how frequently it occurs. As far as the call or the incident itself, these are pretty infrequent, and this isn't something that we see routinely.
I'm gonna follow up and just see how much you've done your research. It's obviously January and 2016 is a very short year, but the year before, do you know how many officer-involved shootings there were?
I don't sit here with that information. I don't have that.
Ken, you're asking for more witnesses to come forward. You're still looking for possibly a 5th car. What extra pieces do you think are out there that you don't have now? I mean, what do you hope to get for that?
Well, again, it's just a matter of if there are other perspectives, other people out there who saw or heard something, we want that information so that we can make that a part of our investigation as to what happened out there.
Specifically, you really want to know what he was up to and what he was going through before the accident.
Yeah, I mean, we want to know what was going on before these officers came in contact with him. We want to know what was happening before this crash had occurred. You know, we want to be able to piece things together. And we're only able to do that with people coming forward who have information.
Was anybody else hurt?
With regards to the accident, like I said, Nevada Highway Patrol has come out and they are conducting the accident investigation. I do know that some people were treated and released, and I just don't have a number or an extent as to what the injuries were for the people involved in the crash.
What about any of the officers who reported last night? None hurt?
Right, no officers were hurt.
Will you be releasing their names anytime soon? Or?
Not anytime soon, but I see at some point that the officers' names may be released. And that's pretty much all the information I have right now.
Was he a Reno resident, Sparks resident?
I don't have that information.
Was he known to law enforcement?
I don't have any background information on this guy at all. Not as I sit here right now. Right? So I'm sure we'll follow up and
You
provide.
don't know what he
you guys
did
with
for a
some
living or anything about him then, huh?
I don't have any biographical information about him yet.